On June 9th this year, a chartered bus was involved in an accident along the east-west highway near Gerik, Perak. The tragedy claimed the lives of 15 students from the Sultan Idris Education University, or UPSI. Besides a police probe that led to the driver being charged in court, the accident also prompted the Transport Ministry to set up a special task force to do a comprehensive investigation into what happened. The task force has since released its preliminary report, and the findings were eye-opening. Now, before we get into that, we need to look into the accident itself. Two vehicles were involved in the crash, a bus that was carrying 42 passengers, as well as an MPV that had 4 people on board. The bus was chartered by UPSI students who were travelling back to the university from Terengganu after the Eid al-Adha holiday. Initial reports claimed the bus lost control while overtaking another vehicle. It collided with the MPV and struck a guardrail, with parts of the rail piercing the bus's structure. Now, 13 students were pronounced dead at the scene, and 2 more succumbed to injuries in hospital. Many others were injured, including the bus driver. Initially, the driver claimed he lost control of the vehicle after it suffered a brake failure. However, investigators had cast doubt on the claim, and they also uncovered troubling details about the bus itself. It turns out the company that operates the bus had illegally leased its operating license to a third party. All of this prompted the Transport Ministry to set up a task force to conduct its own comprehensive probe, which focuses on these safety aspects, and it is not part of ongoing criminal investigations. Having said that, this is what the preliminary report revealed.
It outlined 4 main factors that contributed to the deadly crash. The first and most critical factor was speed. Based on dashcam footage and kinetic analysis, the bus is believed to have been travelling at over 117 kilometers an hour, which is almost double the posted speed limit for the area, which also happened to be a downhill stretch. This is what led to the driver losing control of the vehicle before it skidded and overturned. It should be noted that the driver later claimed that the bus had experienced brake failure, but there is no conclusive evidence to suggest any technical fault. Another contributing factor behind the crash and the high death toll was the lack of proper safety features on the bus. This particular vehicle was found not to have any speed-limiting devices or an active GPS tracker. The bus also did not have essential features like seat belts for passengers. Now, the report also found that the severity of the crash was made worse by substandard road design, which included the absence of physical dividers, clear centre lines and effective warning signs. The guardrail at the location was also found to not have met safety standards. Finally, the report uncovered systemic weaknesses in terms of compliance with regulations. This after the original operator of the bus was found to have illegally leased its license to a third party. The operator had also failed to screen the main and backup driver, who were both found to have a worrying record of traffic offences. The driver, who was behind the wheel at the time of the incident, had 13 outstanding PDRM summonses, mainly for speeding. Part of the reason why many non-compliant operators and drivers like these were able to avoid detection was the inconsistent databases between transport authorities and fragmented interagency coordination.
The preliminary report also proposed several recommendations to ensure that such an incident will never happen again. The first part involves improving road infrastructure, which includes upgrading road barriers and guardrails, and improving the visibility of road signs and markings. It also called for the installation of Awas speed cameras at high-risk corners. The report also encouraged the government to speed up efforts to have a real-time commercial vehicle monitoring system, one that would mandate the use of GPS devices on all such vehicles. There should also be a centralized driver database that's accessible to both enforcement agencies and authorized operators. This is aimed at weeding out bad drivers. Besides that, it urged the Land Public Transport Agency to beef up its enforcement against illegal license leasing. Now, all of this begs the question, are these recommendations good enough to prevent a similar tragedy from happening again? If you're cynical about the chances of success, you have every right to be. Historically, whenever a major tragedy happens, a lot of promises are made. We see some action being taken initially, and after a few years, we forget and we go back to square one. And in this case, there are also a lot of hurdles that need to be overcome. For one, infrastructure upgrades will eat up a lot of funding at a time when the whole world is facing economic uncertainty. Secondly, improving safety features for commercial vehicles will probably face opposition from commercial vehicle companies who will complain about the cost. Our enforcement agencies are already stretched to the limit, having to manage 36 million private and public vehicles that are currently on our roads. And there's the issue of driver attitudes. They willingly break traffic laws and put other people's lives at risk. For these people, human lives are just an inconvenience. However, if these safety recommendations are implemented properly, it has every chance of success, but this hinges on full cooperation from everyone involved, from transport companies and their drivers to enforcement personnel, and even members of the public. How can you help? Well, the Transport Minister gave an example recently. He said if you see commercial vehicles being driven dangerously, and if you have a dash cam, download the footage, post it on social media, and tag the relevant authorities.
Terus viralkan mana-mana insiden yang memandu secara bahaya. Kalau you tak nak adu kepada JPJ pun tak apa, viral sudah cukup. Viral kita tengoklah. Viral sudah tentu. Apabila video viral ni tentu akan sampai kepada kita. Kita akan mengambil tindakan.